Hello, friends. Welcome back to Chasing English. This is the place where you can practice English every day through stories. Reading and listening every day will make your English better, step by step. So stay with us, read with us, and grow with us. Today, we will learn English through a very special life story. This is not only about coffee, it is about pain, hope, dreams, and never giving up. The man in this story is Howard Schultz, the man who made Starbucks famous all around the world. But Howard did not start rich. He was just a poor boy from Brooklyn, New York. He lived in small, broken apartments. His family had very little money. His father worked as a delivery driver. One cold winter day, his father slipped on the ice and hurt his hip. But there was no help, no health insurance, no money, no support. Howard saw his father sit at home, sad and hopeless. That moment stayed in Howard's heart forever. He said later, "I promised myself that if I ever build a company, it will respect people, not crush them." Life was very hard. Howard was often embarrassed to bring friends home because he had no room of his own, no nice clothes, and not enough money. He said, "When you are that poor, you never forget it. Poverty leaves a shadow." But Howard also had something powerful inside him: determination. He worked small jobs, sold newspapers, and saved money. He loved sports and played football. Against all odds, he became the first in his family to go to college. He did not go to a famous school like Harvard. He went to Northern Michigan University on a football scholarship. To pay for school, he worked as a bartender and a salesman. Life was never easy, but he kept going forward. After college, he worked for a big company called Xerox and learned sales. He was good at it, but deep inside, Howard wanted something more. And one day, his life changed when he discovered a small coffee company in Seattle with just 4 stores. That company was called Starbucks. At first, Starbucks did not sell coffee drinks. They only sold coffee beans and machines. But when Howard walked into the store, he felt something magical. He saw not just coffee, but warmth, honesty, and culture. He fell in love with the idea. Howard left his good job and joined Starbucks. At that time, he was not rich, not an owner, just an employee with the big dream in his heart. He didn't know yet, but his dream would one day change how the whole world starts the day. In 1983, Starbucks sent Howard Schultz on a short work trip to Milan, Italy. At first, it was just business, but as he walked through the streets of Milan, he saw something that touched his heart forever. On every corner, there were espresso bars. These were not just small coffee shops. They were full of life. People laughed, talked, and smiled. Friends met there every morning. The barista knew customers by name. Coffee was not only a drink. It was connection, community, and culture. Howard stood in the middle of it all and thought, "This is what America doesn't have. We don't just need coffee. We need this feeling." When he came back to Seattle, Howard ran to the Starbucks founders with excitement. He said, "We should open coffee bars here. Let people drink coffee in the store. Let them feel this Italian culture of connection." He was sure this was the future, but the founders Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel, and Gordon Boker shook their heads. They said, "No, that's not who we are. We sell beans, not drinks. Americans won't pay $2 or $3 for coffee in a cup." Howard felt crushed. This was his big idea, and the people he admired didn't believe in it. But deep inside, Howard knew, if they don't do it, I must do it myself. So, in 1985, Howard left Starbucks. It broke his heart, but his dream was bigger than his job. He started his own coffee company called Il Giornale, named after an Italian newspaper. But there was one big problem: money. Howard had no money to open his dream coffee bar, so he began asking investors to help. And guess what? Almost everyone said no, you're not Italian. Americans will never pay for expensive coffee. This is a silly idea. Howard was rejected not once, not 10 times, but more than 200 times. Imagine that. Every meeting ended with closed doors. But Howard did not give up. He believed. He kept knocking on doors, kept sharing his dream, until finally, 30 investors said yes. With their help, he raised $400,000 and opened his first coffee bar in Seattle in 1986. It was special. Italian music played softly. The baristas remembered your name. The smell of fresh espresso filled the air. People didn't just buy coffee, they bought an experience. And people loved it. Customers kept coming back. Il Giornale was a success. Howard had proved everyone wrong. But soon, something unexpected happened. The Starbucks founders decided to sell their company. Starbucks was still small. Only a few stores. Howard saw his chance. His dream and Starbucks were meant to be together. There was only one problem: the price. To buy Starbucks in 1987, Howard needed $3.8 million. For him, this was like climbing a mountain with no shoes. He didn't have that money, but once again, Howard chose to fight for his dream. In 1987, Howard Schultz stood in front of the biggest decision of his life. The Starbucks founders wanted to sell the company. Howard wanted it more than anything, but the price was $3.8 million, about $10 million in today's money. Howard didn't have that kind of money. He had only his small coffee bar, Il Giornale. Still, he refused to give up. He went back to the same long road of rejection. Meeting after meeting, investor after investor. Some laughed at him. You're dreaming too big. Starbucks is too small. It's not worth it. Why risk so much for coffee? But Howard's heart was strong. He told them, this is not just a coffee company. This is my life's purpose. Finally, after weeks of hard work, he did it. He raised the money, and in August 1987, at the age of 34, Howard Schultz bought Starbucks. At that moment, he wasn't just buying a company, he was buying his dream. A small company with a big dream, but what did he really buy? Starbucks at that time was tiny. Only 6 stores, a small roasting plant, a confused brand identity, and a few dozen employees. It was not yet a global brand. It was not profitable. There were no lattes, no cappuccinos, no frappuccinos, nothing that people know today. Howard had a mountain to climb. His mission was clear. Starbucks would not just sell coffee beans. It would sell an experience. A third place between home and work, where people could sit, relax, and feel connected. Building a new Starbucks word started with 3 simple rules. 1. Create human connection. Every customer should feel valued. 2. Design warm, inviting stores with soft music, cozy seats, and a welcoming smell. 3. Make every cup personal. Baristas would smile, remember your name, and treat you like family. Even part-time workers were called partners, not staff. Howard gave them healthcare and stock options. In America at that time, this was unheard of for a coffee shop. He believed, if we take care of our people, they will take care of the customers. Starbucks begins to grow in 1987. Starbucks had 6 stores. Within 5 years, Howard grew the company to more than 165 stores in cities like Chicago, Vancouver, and New York. For many Americans, this was their first time hearing words like latte, cappuccino, macchiato. Slowly, these words became part of everyday life. People didn't just order coffee, they ordered moments of peace, a warm seat, calm music, and a place to belong. Holding a Starbucks cup even became a small sign of success. People felt proud walking down the street with the green and white logo in their hands. But success brings new problems. The early 1990s, Starbucks was everywhere. Sales were growing, the brand was loved, and people were calling it the modern way to drink coffee. But fast growth brought problems too. Some stores felt warm and personal, others felt cold and busy. Long lines and crowded tables made some customers unhappy. Howard began to worry. I don't want Starbucks to become just another fast food chain. I want it to keep its soul. For the first time, Howard saw that success could also be dangerous. By the year 2000, Starbucks had grown to thousands of stores around the world. People were drinking lattes, cappuccinos, and frappuccinos everywhere. The brand was powerful, and Howard Schultz was seen as a hero. But success made Howard tired. After almost 20 years of building Starbucks, he stepped down as CEO. Other leaders took over. At first, it looked fine. More stores opened, profits grew, and Wall Street was happy. But slowly, something important began to fade. The soul of Starbucks was disappearing. Howard visited some stores and felt sad. They were clean and busy, but they felt cold. The music was loud, the lines were long, and the baristas seemed too rushed to smile. Customers no longer felt special. Then, in 2007 and 2008, the global financial crisis hit. People lost jobs, families cut spending, and suddenly, a $4 coffee felt like a luxury many could not afford. Starbucks sales dropped. Hundreds of stores had to close. Thousands of workers lost their jobs. The stock price fell from $40 to under $8. The company that once felt unstoppable now looked like it might die. Howard watched all this from the side. He was still chairman, but not CEO. He whispered to himself, "This is not the Starbucks I built." The return of Howard Schultz in January 2008. The board of directors came to him. They said, "Howard, we need you back." At 54 years old, Howard returned as CEO. But this time, it was not to celebrate success. It was to save a broken dream. He began with bold, painful decisions. 1. He closed 900 stores that didn't feel right. 2. He let thousands of employees go, even though it broke his heart. 3. He stopped opening new stores and focused on quality. 4. He cut his own salary to just $1 a year, to show it was not about money. 5. He closed all 7,000 US stores for one day to retrain baristas. Millions of dollars were lost that day. But Howard said, "We are not fixing coffee, we are fixing pride." Bringing back the magic word worked to restore what made Starbucks special: the rich smell of coffee, without microwaved food to hide it. Better espresso machines for perfect taste. Cozy seating and soft music again. Eye contact, smiles, and baristas who remembered your name. He also looked forward. He added free Wi-Fi so people could work and connect. He launched the Starbucks Rewards app, which became one of the most popular loyalty programs in the world. He pushed for ethical coffee sourcing, fair trade, and helping farmers in poor countries. He supported hiring veterans, minorities, and refugees. Howard told his team, "We are not in the coffee business serving people. We are in the people business serving coffee." The comeback by 2010, the results were clear. Starbucks came back to life. Revenue climbed to nearly $12 billion. The stock price rose again above $30. Customers returned, smiling, sitting, enjoying their coffee. Slowly, more than money, the spirit was back. The smell of fresh coffee, the sound of music, the warmth of human connection. Starbucks was alive again. One day, Howard walked into a small store in Brooklyn, near the place he grew up poor. He saw a young barista hand a cup of coffee to an old man and say with a smile, "This one's on me today, sir. You always make us smile." Howard felt tears in his eyes. This, he thought, is what it's all about. By 2017, Starbucks had become a giant. more than 25,000 stores around the world, over 300,000 employees, a company value of over $80 billion, customers in more than 70 countries, from Tokyo to Toronto, from London to Los Angeles. People started their mornings the same way, walking into a Starbucks, saying their name, and feeling at home. But for Howard Schultz, this success was never just about money. It was about people. He often walked quietly into stores, without telling anyone who he was. Sometimes he saw a student studying with a latte, a mother resting with her child, or a homeless man given a warm drink by a kind barista. Each time, he smiled and thought, "This is the dream." Howard remembered his father, who had once sat broken and hopeless after losing his job. He never forgot that pain. That is why he built a company where even a part-time barista could have healthcare, stock options, and respect. His lesson was clear: success means nothing if people feel invisible. What we can learn from Howard Schultz: when your past does not decide your future. Even a poor boy from public housing can build a global brand. 2. Rejection is not the end. Howard was rejected more than 200 times, but he kept believing. 3. Lead with your heart. Profit is important, but people are everything. 4. Your business is your legacy. Every choice leaves a mark on someone's life. 5. Never forget kindness. A small smile, a remembered name, or a warm coffee can change someone's day. Howard once said, "Dream more than others think practical. Care more than others think wise. Expect more than others think possible. And don't be afraid to be the only one who believes." Because he believed, Starbucks became more than coffee. It became connection, comfort, and community for millions of people. And now, dear friends, this is the end of the Starbucks story, but it can also be the beginning of your story. Maybe you don't have much money. Maybe people don't believe in you. Maybe life feels hard. But remember Howard Schultz: if he could do it, so can you. Thank you for reading and practicing with us here at Chasing English. Every story you read improves your English and fills you with new ideas for life. Keep practicing every day. Keep following Chasing English for more stories. And keep believing in your own dream. Because just like Howard, your dream matters.